All right, then I am going to go through, make this bigger for you again. Mrs. Fields chocolate chip cookies, and I should tell you that this recipe has been cut in half. So it makes about 20 to 24 cookies, because if we were in the classroom, we could only make 2 pans like I told you. So if you want to make more than 20 cookies and you want to do a regular cookie recipe where you get 3 to 4 dozen cookies, then you'd need to double this. And I noticed when I copy and pasted it last night, this sugar should be underneath here. So the ingredients are listed in the order of use. Half a cup of butter or margarine is a stick of butter, so you don't even have to worry about measuring that. Then you have 3/8 cup of white sugar and 3/8 cup of brown sugar. Brown sugar should be packed, and this is a weird measurement because it's usually 3/4 of a cup of each if you do the full recipe. So 3/8 of a cup has to be converted into tablespoons. So there are 2 tablespoons in 1/8 of a cup. So you'd need 6 tablespoons of white sugar and 6 tablespoons of brown sugar. Or if you're really good at math, that would be 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons. I know 3/8 we don't see very often, but when I had to cut the recipe in half, that's what it comes out to be. Then there's 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and you always want to make sure that when you're using the right 1 teaspoon. On your set of measuring spoons, you have tablespoon, teaspoon, a half a teaspoon, and 1/4 of a teaspoon. You may have other sizes, but in a regular set of measuring spoons, those are kind of the normal ones. This is 1 1/4 cup of flour, which kind of looks different when you cut and paste it, but it would be 1 full cup of flour and another 1/4 a cup. If you use margarine in your recipe, you might need to add about a 1/4 cup more because it'll be a little bit stickier dough. Half a teaspoon of baking soda, our leavening agent that's going to make it rise, and you got a half a teaspoon of salt and a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and of course you could use milk chocolate or whatever chips you would like to put into your cookie. So then the recipe is always, last time I had it in steps. Usually you see it like this in a paragraph form. So you read 1 sentence and you stop. Preheat your oven to 350. We know that that's always the first step. Everybody's oven is different. If we're in school, it takes ours about 6 minutes to preheat at 350. So then you read the first sentence, which is cream the butter and the sugar together. Now, you could do this by hand, or you could use an upright electric mixer, or if you have a hand mixer that's electric that you want to use. For the Mrs. Fields chocolate chip cookies, I don't know, I always do it by hand. I know a lot of people like to use the mixer, but whatever works, either way works. So you'll put your stick of butter, your 3/8 cup of white, and your 3/8 cup of brown sugar, and you'll cream that, which means softening them together. So if I was doing in a bowl, I'd just take my wooden spoon till it's nice and creamy, fluffy looking. And then I'd add my egg and my teaspoon of vanilla. It's a sentence at a time. So then I'd mix my egg and vanilla in. And my dry ingredients, stir and dry ingredients. So that would be flour, baking soda, salt. Mix that together. Now my cookie dough should be together. And then I'm going to add my chocolate chips. And some people add pecans or walnuts if you like that. Obviously in school we don't because people have allergies to nuts. So we add our chocolate chips, drop by spoon onto ungreased cookie sheet. Usually a recipe will tell you if it's greased or ungreased. 8 to 12 minutes, and again that'll depend on your oven. It might only take 8 minutes. For somebody else it could be 10, 11 minutes. So you just have to kind of watch. Again, I said these are drops, so you probably want to drop 3 across and 4 down, about a dozen. So that means if you're going to do just half this recipe, you'll need 2 cookie sheets. I'll come back and ask if there's any questions on Mrs. Fields chocolate chip cookies. All right. Snickerdoodles. And before I forget, those of you that made, I was really impressed with the different smoothies that people made. And if you made the pizza bubble bread, some people made both recipes. That's awesome. I'm sure you enjoyed it. I'm sure whoever you're with, your family or grandparents, whoever you're staying with or living with, enjoyed that as well. Snickerdoodles are basically a sugar cookie with cinnamon and sugar on the outside. When they bake, they get flatter looking than a chocolate chip cookie, and it's a crispier cookie, and they also get done faster. You kind of have to watch them so they don't burn. They get done faster than a chocolate chip cookie. So now this is a full recipe. Again, this will make probably 4 pans of cookies. So if you don't want all that much, you can cut this in half. I think on the one that I attached to the assignment is a half recipe, if I recall. If it's not, like I said, you might want to cut it in half. So 1 1/2 cups of sugar. This is white sugar. 1/2 cup of butter. It says softened, not melted. You don't want to melt it in the microwave, but you want to set out the butter so you can use it, a couple hours later and it's soft. This one has both butter and shortening, and the same amount, 1/2 cup, but the shortening you'd have to measure. Like I said, it's Crisco is a brand or hydrogenated vegetable fat. We know that it's not the best for us to eat. 2 eggs, 2 3/4 cup of flour. It doesn't have to be gold medal flour. It just happens to be the recipe I used. And this jumped over here too, but this should be back here. 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is white. It looks kind of like baking soda or baking powder. It is not a leavening agent though. It is what's called a stabilizer, which means it helps bring the ingredients in your recipe together and stick together better so that when you actually roll the cookies that they stay together. A teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then you'll notice there's sugar and cinnamon here at the bottom. That's what you're going to roll the cookies in. So you don't want to put another 1/4 cup of sugar into your recipe and cinnamon into your recipe, although that has happened in class because some people just put everything in the bowl. And there's a reason. Now in cookies, it's not quite as critical, but there are many recipes, if you put everything in the bowl, it's not going to turn out. So you always want to follow the directions step by step. You'll notice that this one has a 400-degree oven, so it's hotter. And it's, like I said, with a hotter oven, it's going to take 6 to 8 minutes probably. So the first thing, and I usually make these in my electric mixer, I'm going to put in my sugar, my butter, shortening, and eggs, whip that together. Then I'm going to put in my dry ingredients of flour, cream of tartar, baking soda, and salt. Shape the dough into 1 1/4 inch balls. So I'm going to roll them into balls about 1 inch or a little bit bigger. And then I'm mixing that 1/4 cup of sugar and the cinnamon, the 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and I'm going to roll my balls into the cinnamon and sugar 2 inches apart on an ungreased cookie sheet. Bake 8 to 10 minutes, and then remove from cookie sheet to wire rack. And I probably should have mentioned, whatever cookie you're making, you don't want to take them off the cookie sheet right away because they have a tendency to fall apart on you. You need to let them sit a little bit to cool before you put them to the wire rack. And I should probably type that up here, to put your cookies on the wire rack to cool. They will continue to bake a little bit once you take them out of the oven. So especially the snickerdoodles have a tendency to fall apart because they're a crispier cookie and they flatten out more. So you want to make sure you just let them cool a little bit before you take your pancake turner and put them onto the cooling racks. I'm going to come back and I'll put my camera back on. Hopefully. Here we go. Any questions on those recipes or anything we've talked about today? I'm excited to see you. Do you think you're going to make cookies, or do you think you're going to do something else? You're going to try one of these recipes? I thought about demonstrating, but the problem is I live by myself, and it's kind of hard to figure out how to do the camera thing. I might do it in steps sometime where I can take some pictures and put it onto like an iMovie or something. But being myself, it's harder to record. Questions? If not, I'm going to just remind you the rest of the week. Tomorrow is the second set of 5 cooking terms. If you haven't already done those, I noticed some people already on it. And then I already typed the words into the chart this time to make it a little bit easier because people were getting confused at what words to use. So this one has fold, I remember, coat, dredge. So anyways, I typed those on there. Thursday was designated the cookie lab day. And again, you have a week window to do that. So it doesn't have to be Thursday I'm making cookies. You might have to get ingredients or something. And then Friday, there's a nutrition challenge poster. It doesn't have to be a poster. You can just do it on a document on Notability or Keynote. One person did it on a piece of paper and took a picture and sent that to me because they're already ahead of the game. That one has an audio from me explaining the assignment because I thought it might be a little confusing. I tried to type up the directions in the assignment as best as I could, but just to make it a little bit easier, I did an audio explanation of what that is. So that's for Friday. Next week, we're going to be doing quick breads and function of ingredients. So we are going to come back on Tuesday live again. And the lab next week is pancakes. And you'll learn about what each ingredient does in a pancake and in a recipe. Before I head out, I'll encourage you again to do the food handler class and get the certification. It's free. The link is on the Schoology page. I've had a couple people do it so far. It crashed on Friday night because one of the girls, I don't know if it's somebody here, sent me an email. She got done with it and she passed and had her certificate. She just couldn't show it or print it because the site crashed. And I'm guessing Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, because this is nationwide, they've opened it up as a free thing, and I'm sure a lot of teachers are encouraging their students to do it. And some might even be doing it for a grade, I don't know. But if you can do it on a weeknight, you're probably better off. I did mine, on a Monday night, and I got mine done, or Tuesday night, I guess it was. But it wasn't, I had no problems with it. The test is multiple choice, 45 questions. And if you really just pay attention as you're doing it and it's not timed, you can take your time in getting it completed. So I strongly encourage you to do it. Any questions before I sign off? Okay. Well, everybody have a good week. I'm looking forward to seeing your cookies. Don't burn them. Watch them and have fun making cookies this week. Bye, everybody.